Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Data Room. I'm super excited. Today we have this phenomenal guest, Mr. Greer. So I met Steve at the Houston Angel Network meeting during a field trip for my startup class, and he was just a super nice guy right away. I came over and we started talking about college, A&M, and I learned that he spent some time in marketing and is now a very active member of the Houston Angel Network community. And so with that, Steve, just give us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. So Steve Greer, I was raised in LA, um, went to USC, graduated, went to Oregon for my MBA. HP hired me out of graduate school. I spent nearly 38 years with HP in marketing. When I retired 3 years ago, a little bit early, but I was a senior director of marketing. I had worldwide responsibilities. In HP Inc. You may know HP split in 2015 into Hewlett Packard Enterprise and to HP Inc. Hewlett Packard Enterprise, by the way, has moved their corporate headquarters to Houston, to out in the Spring or Woodlands area, and we have a office there as well. I spent about 37 years, maybe a little bit more, well, probably 35 years in Corvallis, Oregon. There was a very large facility there, and in that facility, about 12 buildings, what we ended up building out the site was where we basically invented inkjet technology. So my background is in print and printing supplies. Very lucrative for HP. I spent a long time in marketing in the division in Corvallis, and then in worldwide responsibilities for marketing. We moved to Texas. I live in Bryan now, Bryan College Station area, and we moved here about Thanksgiving of 16 or so. The reason for that is my daughter, who was at the time as a nurse, she's a family nurse practitioner at Texas A&M Medicine right now. Got married and said, "I'm getting older. We're going to have kids right away." So my wife suggested that. She wasn't going to be 1,800 miles away from our grandchildren. So guess what? We moved to the area. And so we're maybe 5 or 10 minutes away from my grandkids. They're 3 and 2, and there's one on the way imminently. And so they're going to have another one soon. So that's why we're here. I just moved my office from Corvallis to the Houston HP facility. And that's what I did. In terms of what I did after I retired, it happened pretty fast. One thing I think for people, and Jacob, you're probably too young for this, but if you're getting near retirement, one thing I would counsel is have a plan, and have a very clear plan of what you want to do. The good news is in retirement, you can do what you want to do. It's not what you have to do. You don't have your boss calling you every 10 minutes saying, "Is this done yet?" Or "You'll do this." Or "I have a new opportunity." When your boss says, "I have a new opportunity," that means you need to run the other way because something bad is coming. But you don't do that, but you have to do something. And so what I did was I retired a little bit early. I got a large incentive, and I retired. And I said, "Well, now," and I told him I was going to be, my boss, at the time he was a senior vice president, that I was going to be gone in a year. I was fine financially. I was going to be gone. Happened faster than that. So then I was looking around saying, "What am I going to do?" During the bubble, I don't know if you were around back in 2000, Jacob, but the guy who ran print came to me and said, "Get a small team and go out and do some things that are non-organic growth. In other words, balance sheet transaction stuff, and fill some gaps that we have, because we're not going to ever fill it internally or organically. We need to fill it externally or non-organically." So we went out, we did some equity investing, got some people on board, some smaller companies that filled some gaps we had in the print area. And we did an acquisition. It's Indigo, and they still have it and still works, shockingly, but everything looks pretty good. So we did this acquisition for Indigo, which is an Israeli company. And what they do is they make those, if you ever get Harry and David Fruit of the Month Club, and you see all those bright, shiny promotional things in it, it's printed on an Indigo press. That's what we acquired. So today, right now, I'm a member of 2 angel networks. Aggie Angel Network, which is here in town in Bryan College Station. It's connected with the university. It's not part of the university. We're an affiliate. But we use the name, we use the facilities, and the guy who runs it is a guy who also runs a McFerrin Center in the College of Business, which is a school for entrepreneurship. Um, and then I'm a member of, and I'm on the board of the Houston Angel Network. Um, and I've been associated with both of those for almost 3 years now. And that's what I do is equity investing. I'm an investor in smaller companies. I do have a fair number of investments right now, both in individual companies, also with a couple of smaller, though very active VC funds. I know probably three venture capitalists, and I work with them as well. So that's me. That's what I do. Been married for a long time, 44 years to the same person, which is good. My son is still back in Oregon. He's a teacher, an elementary school teacher. And like I said, my daughter is here in town at A&M Medicine as a nurse practitioner. So that's me.
Awesome. Wow, there's
Awesome. Awesome.
a lot there that I'd love to dive into more. I'm super excited to have you on again. I definitely have a lot of great experience, and I think one of the things I was thinking of as you kind of told me your story is my roommate is actually reading The Butterfly Effect, and I was thinking how or one of the main lessons that he told me from the butterfly effect is how like each person can make a tremendous difference. And it sounds like you like sometimes in a corporation it seems like it's just a machine, it's removed a bit from the people, but it sounds like you had a tremendous impact on HP, and that's really cool. My grandpa worked there as well.
Oh, really? Okay. I think that's Yeah, I think you're making me feel old, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Grandfather, that's good. Let me, so I can address that. As you get in larger and larger companies, things become more compartmentalized. In a small company, you can be a jack of all trades and do all kinds of stuff, right? Because there's nobody else to do it. You can't afford to have a ton of people, right?
Mhm.
But as you get into a large corporation like HP, jobs become sliced thinner and thinner in terms of responsibility. That's the way it works everywhere. Now, every culture, every HP, I mean, excuse me, every company has a different culture, different than HP's. All that's fine, but that's going to happen in any company because that's called the law of big companies. That's what happens. Now, that can either be good or bad. And I think the challenge for someone is to take in a big company, and there's good and bad about working for a large company. I did it for a long time, yet I see a lot of smaller companies too. Um, you shouldn't in a large company assume you're just a cog in a machine. But what you should do is, first of all, contribute, work hard to contribute, and look for opportunities to contribute in a way that others may not see. And I think at HP there was always an opening for people to do something unusual, to do something out of the box. And HP didn't stifle that. I know with some people they like smaller companies, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. That's great. And a large company is not bad. I think a good career path. First of all, most people don't stay for almost 38 years anymore at one company. I understand that, like me. But I think one thing you can look at is getting out of college or grad school. Excuse me, getting into a large company, working for a large company. It's more secure. At first, I mean, it depends on how you're wired, but it's more secure. But you'll learn a lot. You will learn a lot. And then if later on in your career, after 5, 10 years, you go, yeah, you know what, this company bureaucracy, and you're going to find bureaucracy. That's life. I'm tired of it. I'm going to go do my own thing with whatever, and that's fine. That's great. I do think there are examples of guys. Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard and started Microsoft. He's done pretty well, right? You got Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook or Meta or whatever he calls himself now. Michael Dell started Dell in his dorm room at UT. There are examples of people right out or even in college, basically being a success. However, those are exceptions. Most people are not exceptions to the rule. So, I mean, as people go forward, getting out of college, looking at things, it's up to you what you do. It's not any of my business. But my only counsel is you may want to think about living a corporate life for a while and learning all you can, absorb all that you can, because with all due respect to your professors, most of these guys have not been out there and did what I did. I talked to a lot of business professors, and I'm like, what? And they're academics, right? We go out and actually have to every day prove ourselves and survive in a corporate world. You learn a lot. And if you want to do something longer term, nothing wrong with that. It's fine. That's great. You've got a bunch of learning underneath your belt, a bunch of experience that you can go, yeah, we did that there. I'm not going to do that, for an example. So does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely appreciate the perspective and the advice. I think that's something I think about quite a bit. Like, do I want to go into a more stable job initially, or do I want to just go straight into entrepreneurship? Because I know at the end of the day, I really want to be an entrepreneur. That's my goal. And I know recently the investment banking recruiting cycle kind of came and went, and I was at first I was kind of thinking like this is probably what I want to do. Like I know it'll give me a large overview into how the financial sector operates and I'll get some experience, I'll have some stable income. But I just really didn't feel like that was the best option for me. And I kind of just let the recruiting cycle go by while I diverted my attention more into the entrepreneurship space. And I still haven't like closed all the doors. Like there's definitely still a lot of kind of corporate jobs available if I am interested in that. And I definitely hear your advice. That's something I really appreciate and I'm going to continue to contemplate. But
It just
something
depends. Yeah, it depends on how you're wired and what you want to do. It's your life. You have to make the decisions, right? That's my perspective, and it's my perspective on both living in a large corporate environment, but also being able to see a lot of smaller companies now. I mean, I see a lot of smaller companies now, and gaining the perspective. A lot of them, and most are not successful, by the way. Most don't make it, and the ones that tend to make it, in my experience, are people who have large corporate experience, have learned some stuff, and now are off doing their own thing because they took the learning, incorporated into what they're doing, and they're saying, "Yeah, I learned this. We're not going to do that." You know what I mean? So, but what you decide to do is entirely up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something. So let's dive into that a little bit deeper. You said like the people that you see are very successful, or the successful startups that you see are generally founded by people who have more corporate experience.
Right.
What is the disconnect? Like if they're able to identify these potential issues and then start a startup, create a startup to solve these issues, like why is the corporation itself not able to identify these issues? Is it just maybe like too much overhead, too much conflicting interests? Like why are the corporations with all their resources, all their people not able to kind of solve some of these more
So
realistic?
there's a book called The Innovator's Dilemma. I would refer you to that book. The Innovator's Dilemma points out exactly what you said and addresses that. And I lived this, by the way. I mean, I lived this for 2 years when I was doing this, and looked at things in HP trying to start up new. It is very tough to start new ventures, even if it's an ancillary business to what the core is in a large corporation. And the reason for that, there's several reasons, but one big reason is what you got. I'll use HP because that's what I know. I mean, I didn't work anywhere else, but I worked a long time there. You have the core, and you can't touch the core because the core generates revenue, profit, and all this kind of stuff. It's a publicly traded company. You have the analyst all over you. You have the street all over you. You have institutional investors who own your stock. Oh my God, don't touch the core that generates all this stuff. But we're just going to go do this. Well, then you get into it's going to cost X. Can we better invest that in the core and generate even more revenue and profit? Because we own that business, right? I'm going to tell you one of my pet peeves in a second about startups, but we own that business and this business here, but and you get into that. And what happens, I always said, is the antibodies rise and they go, we have a foreign invader called somebody wants to do a new thing. Can't have that. It could jeopardize the core. We can't have that. And you get this, and that's what the Innovator's Dilemma book. I would definitely recommend that book. It says, there's an engine that starts that generates revenue and profit for the company. Just there you go. Let it run, protect it, keep it close, don't let it screw up, because we have the street, we have the board, we have analysts writing stuff about us, and analysts can kill your stock if they want to. They can put a buy on it, they can put a neutral on it. I mean, think about it. You can get wiped out and you can have real problems. You have institutional investors like State Street, Vanguard, all these. I mean, I think HP's, I have to look. I haven't looked lately, but they're the biggest holders of their stock are State Street, Vanguard, and probably Fidelity, right? So those are the big 401k guys. So you got people's retirement riding on it. Well, if you got those kind of pressures, don't touch it. Don't, I mean, oh my God, don't play with that. Let it run. And if anything comes up, it's seen as a threat. And that's a hard one. It's hard to break through. We did a couple of things. But I for 2 years that was my business development thing between marketing, and in the middle was business development. The acquisition was tough. That was that, and the only way we did it was keep everything absolutely silent until the final thing. And I got, the guy who ran print, the executive vice president, knew what was going on. A couple other people knew what was going on. We sprung it. I didn't spring it, but they sprung it on the board of directors. Literally at the 11th hour, the board approved it, and we had the deal, and it was done. But everybody, oh my God, and it was hard to do. So that's what you get into in large corporations in terms of innovation. There's tension there
Right.
between, let's do something all new. What are you, out of your mind? You're going to destroy you don't get it. So that's the problem that you have. And once again, go read that book. That's a great book for it, and it outlines basically what I said, but probably a little bit more intelligently and more coherently. So
Yeah. No, I definitely appreciate that. And I see where you're coming from. Right now I'm taking a class, Busy 447 Advanced Corporate Finance, and we're learning about how managers value the different projects and that like that consideration of like, could this money be better invested elsewhere? Should we just return it to the shareholders? Like I definitely see kind of the academic side of that right now. So one of the things you mentioned I want to go back to is you said you have a pet peeve regarding startups. What is that pet peeve?
so here's the example I'll use, but I see this all the time. I see this all the time. And I sit there and I ask people this, and it's actually I have two. I'll tell you my focus. Pet peeve number one. And here's an example. Somebody applies to Houston Angel Network. Somehow they got my name, maybe because I'm on the website. Maybe that's it, right? Because my picture and my name and my LinkedIn link is there.
Yeah.
And this guy has a new business, and it is really cool because it's new matchmaking data, or a matchmaking dating application. It's a brand new, and I'm like, okay, can you help me why you'd even go there? You got Match.com, it's a mature market. In other words, here's my pet peeve, and we had this all the time at HP. Don't go after a hill that's already taken.
Mhm.
Because the only thing that's going to happen is when you go up that hill, you're going to get casualties, and you'll probably get killed going up the hill because somebody already owns that hill. Go find a hill where nobody is and take that. And then you can cause other people casualties. I mean, it's just like, oh my God.
It's very interesting you brought up a dating app as an example. I actually have one of my friends right now building a dating app. So
Maybe for his own use, that's awesome. I mean, if that's what he's
yeah,
doing. I mean, that's
I think
creative. I kind of like it. But
yeah, I think in their minds they're really thinking about just like bringing a new perspective to like a kind of older platform. But it sounds like you don't really agree with that thought process.
well, so careful. If you have something absolutely and totally disruptive, and that's
Yeah.
what we did with inkjet. And here's the example, and here's the counterpoint. With inkjet, way back in the day, there were impact dot matrix and daisy wheel printers. Loud, slow, crappy, etc. Right? And basically they were typewriters with a PC board with stuff on it. That's what they were, basically.
Mhm.
And what we did was inkjet, which is non-impact, fast, quiet, utterly quiet, and then we did lasers so we had the high and the low end, completely disrupted printing, completely disrupted it, and we became the world leader in printing with desk jet, office jet, and a lot of the laser printers. Cool. If he has a dating app that is so disruptive that Match.com, I mean, all these, I don't know. I mean, I'm not very up to speed on it because like I said, I've been married for a long time to the same person. But um, hey, fine, go for it. But I don't think you do. You're going to have to prove it to the market, not me, but prove it to the marketplace. And it's like people come up with stuff and they think it's great. Well, maybe, but this is my second pet peeve. I always ask the marketing question, and nobody ever gets it right. So I ask these entrepreneurs the marketing question. That is, what does McDonald's sell? Do you know what McDonald's sells? Give you a hint. It's not crappy, lousy food that causes obesity, high cholesterol, and early death. That's not what they sell. They sell convenience.
Yeah.
Now,
Convenience and
and
consistency.
that's the what they sell. How they go about fulfilling the customer's need for a quick fix for lunch is the crappy high cholesterol food that's going to cause early death. I mean, that's the what they do to fulfill the real need, which is a convenience need. And I ask people that. So ask the guy who's doing the dating app if it's not for him, which I think would be kind of cool, but by himself. But ask him this: what customer need is he solving that the other ones don't solve?
Mm.
Tell me. And I ask people this, and they all go, "Hmm, that's an interesting perspective, Steve." Yeah, okay, great. You have an interesting answer for me? Because
Yeah.
and if you're not to belabor the dating app thing, but the customer need there, I can't see being met I could be wrong, in another way, that with a different app that does something slightly different, because nobody cares. They're there for one reason. And unless the mature market has misidentified a customer need, and this guy has identified the customer need in a better way that people who've been doing it for a long time has, hey, go for it if you think you can do it. But no.
Yeah.
Go
So would
find a hill where nobody's on and take
right.
that hill.
For sure. So would you say like one of the things I try to do all the time is just brainstorm business ideas. I try to kind of push my friends to kind of talk about different problems in their lives and kind of come up with some ideas. And I have like a big log on my phone of all my ideas. Would you say a good way to approach the idea generating process is to think about like unmet customer needs and kind of build from there?
Yeah, you're asking really good questions. That is a great question. And we went through this actually. I actually was in charge of this. One of my jobs at HP when I was in the division, I was a way earlier in my career, and I was just a product manager. I wasn't a manager yet. I wasn't a director. I was just a product manager. And basically, I got charged with leading a team that basically looked at, and we had desk jet, and we couldn't build enough desk jets. We couldn't get enough laser jets. Most people don't know we don't actually build laser jets. We put the formatter board in and we do industrial design. The engine comes from Canon, and they're all built in China, and that's the way it works.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
but inkjet is very heavily vertically integrated, and I was told go find something else. So what you're talking about is something we did, which is called ideation. In other words, how do you get from an established siloed business ideas for new things? And what we did was go out and ask, and we hired a firm to do this. I didn't do it because I had a lot of money in my budget, so I just spent it. And we went out and got this firm that did ideation. In other words, they'd go out and what are you trying to think? And basically it came down to coming up with 5 or 6 ideas and then going out and testing them in the market. We found a couple of things there actually after talking to customers about, well, so you have, and I got paid to sell more printers. That's how I got printers and ink, right? That's how I got paid. So that's what I was interested in. Well, what do you like about your printer? A, B, and C. Okay. And by the way, the other thing that entrepreneurs should look at, don't fall in love with your business. It's just a business. I know you think it's your child and you're in love with it and you want to give it a big hug and protect it. Well, that's nice, but at the end of the day, look at it objectively. It's just a business. That's all it is. It's not your kid. But we went out and asked a bunch of people. It turns out that when we said, "Oh, you like oh yeah, yeah." Most people are not really in love with their printer. It's a printer. I mean, it's like,
Right.
yeah. How do you like your home blender in your kitchen? I like it, but I'm not in love with it. I mean, I need it.
Yeah.
It's a blender. It's a printer. Who cares? What else would you like in your printer? Oh, well, if I could do the perfect printer, awesome. It would do this and this and this. And from that, we came up with what we call now, in fact, I have one in back and we called a multifunction or all in one. It's the same idea. You print, copy, scan, fax, right? Nobody faxes anything anymore. But what the customers were telling us was, your printer is great, but I've got a bunch of other things at the office, some things I need at home. I don't want 12 devices sitting around sucking up electricity and doing this and cluttering up my house. Right. I like everything in one. Oh, awesome. We can do that. Yeah. There you go. You talk to your customer and you said, what do you like? Well, I like this and this. Okay. What else would you like? Well, I got 6 machines to do all this. I'd like it was all in one machine. Print, copy, scan, fax. We faxed in those days. Yeah, I know. You think I was around when the dinosaurs were on the earth, but I wasn't. But you got the idea. That was the process. Look at what you have, and then you talk to a customer and you say, so what do you think? And that's how we came up with multifunction devices, was simply talking to customers and saying, oh, you like this? Cool. Would you like, what else would you like?
Right.
I'd like everything in one. There you go.
Yeah. So to kind of continue off of this, I think we're kind of establishing a bit of an interplay between like what the customer wants, but then also on the other hand, like kind of a novel idea in your mind, kind of what, I know it's not always the same in every case, but like what kind of weights would you maybe assign? Like how important is it to hear from the customer, hear the customer needs versus like to try to come up with a new novel idea?
Right. Yeah. So you're talking to a marketing guy. So the first thing I'm going to say is the customer rules, right? Because if I didn't say it, they'd like take my marketing stripes off or something, or something bad would happen. But the customer rules. Now, there's a problem with that, and that is the customer doesn't always know what they want.
Yeah. Is that from Steve Jobs?
Yeah, you could. Well, I mean, they could. I mean, if somebody had come up with the idea of an internal combustion engine, we'd all still be riding horses, right? Nobody knew about what is that? I don't understand what that is. And so you have to figure out some kind of way by looking what the customer behavior is today, what they're doing today, and how could that be better. I would argue that was Henry Ford did the Model T as an upgrade from a horse. Why? What's the real customer need? Getting from point A to point B. Oh, right. I'm doing it in a different way. It's faster. It's quicker. The horse, my car
doesn't leave manure on the side of the road.
Horse, so you get the idea, right? And that's the way. Core customer needs and core customer behavior. And then you say, well, how could this be done better? Whatever it is. How could this be done better? That's kind of what I would think through. Also, to be honest, you're going to have to, whoever it is, has to look and say, well, what is our core platform? Well, what's our capabilities? What are our, what do we have that we do better than anybody? I was not out looking for talking to people about building the next greatest airliner, because I didn't work for Boeing. I was talking about printing, So you have to say, what are your core capabilities and what are you good at? And then how can you add value to a customer experience?
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So we kind of been talking about the customer experience and the ideas and that kind of thing. I want to pivot the conversation a little bit, kind of more just personally, kind of your experiences. So what's been on your mind recently? Like what kind of things do you think about on a daily basis?
Oh, you mean related to? I think about my grandkids and like,
Mhm.
do I need to put more money in their 529s because I don't know what college is going to cost in 15 years. Um, uh, think about that some. In terms of business oriented things, I think I'm. How can I put this? I don't think people are adequately addressing two of the biggest areas of opportunity, if you will, at least from the startup thing and what I've seen. And I don't think they're saturated markets yet. Number one is security and cybersecurity, mainly in corporate environments or cloud environments in back of a firewall. Now, a lot of people are doing that. Palo Alto Networks is doing it, people like that. But I don't see a lot of innovation in that. People are still getting hacked. Okay, I have an
Yeah.
investment in a cybersecurity company, by the way, full disclosure. Um, and they're doing stuff, and it's all kind of in back of the firewall. Anybody who come up with something that well, you could almost be unhackable, that'd be awesome if you could figure out how to do that. But you still get networks getting hacked. I don't. I think there's probably space there for somebody to come up with some unique way of detecting that and basically getting your system or getting your platform, getting whatever cloud hybrid environment, whatever you have, unhackable. If you could figure out how to do that, I think that would be a big contribution and very successful. So there's that. The other thing I don't, and everybody's work. I mean, this is no secret. I mean, I'm not telling you anything secret, right? I
Right.
mean, everybody knows this. The second area is an interesting area that I don't think that people are working on. People are running around doing it. I just don't see enough unique solutions from the startup community, and that is data and data management and data analysis. We called it data twizzling at HP. And think about it for a minute, right? You're selling literally millions of printers, literally in the millions of printers every single year. People register their products, or we sell millions of PCs for that matter too, right? People register their products. They ask a bunch of questions, goes into a giant database. You know what we did like 20 years ago? We said, we got all these names, all this information. We really got to do something with it. Well, here's a brilliant idea, huh? So,
Yeah.
I and people are doing this data stuff right now. I don't see a breakthrough thing in that. What they're basically doing, you manage the database, from AI or something, you extract some common things that are in the database that customers have, right? And then you try to do it, and then they give it to the marketing guys. You go, here you go fix it, go increase sales. So that people are using it, but good example. Every time, I don't know if every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go to either someone checks you out, you check yourself out, and you pass that barcode over the scanner, that creates a digital record. That digital record is not how much the thing costs. Yeah, that too, but it's where the store is, what is the item, what's going on. It ties you to a purchase thing, and they know when you put your debit card in to pay for it, this transaction he bought A, B, C, and D. And in this previous transaction, he did this. Why don't they send me a coupon for something in that so they would get me in and maybe I can sell more. They can sell me more of something, right? I don't see that kind of thing going on, not only in the grocery business, but in other businesses as well. I don't think people have really caught on, although people are trying. I mean, this is not new. This is not news. To really get an idea of how to talk to the customers from that data. And that's the
Mhm.
hard part. Anybody can twizzle data, put a big data, do extractions, go show me how much of this was sold here, or how many people in Cleveland, Ohio bought laundry detergent on Saturday. That by the way, that data is available. That
Yeah.
data is available. I don't know why you care, except if you worked in the grocery business, but um, so it's the so what. It's nice to do this, but so what? I mean, what are you going
Right.
to do with it? So,
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like you're saying, like there is all this data. I've been hearing a lot about different random kind of data management companies, data startups, but
oh yeah, yeah,
I really like what you said about actually applying that data to bringing in more customers or like elevate, like getting more value out of each individual
right,
customer. That's definitely
right,
something worth
right.
thinking about more.
I didn't go away. I dropped my pen. Sorry.
All good, all good. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that comes from what I said earlier. People are like, this is the world's greatest code. This is awesome code, and I could do all this and all that. And my question is, I've seen a couple of these data things that came through, and I'm like, that's great. So what? So what? How do I monetize it? Tell me how I
Right.
monetize it, and tell me what marketing things I should do with this great, cool data that you've got. I'm not debating whether you have great software. My question is not that. Is well, now what? So what? Who cares? What are you gonna do with it? And that's
Right.
where
Definitely.
I see where the missing is. Right. I don't care about the code. I care about the customer. So
For sure. For sure. So now I was kind of want to keep the conversation going. The next question that I want to ask is, what is your biggest failure and what did you take away from that experience?
oh yeah, my biggest failure. Let me see. Um, I'm not saying I haven't had one. I'm trying to figure out which one was bigger than the other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's helpful. You know, probably, probably one of my biggest failures was early on in my career as a product manager. Um, I got asked to go out and look at a product line I was managing, and look at the pricing and play with it. I went in, raised some prices on a couple of things, lowered the prices on some other things, and I thought I was really cool, new NBA product manager. I'm really smart, and I did this. I played with the product mix a little bit. I'm thinking this is awesome. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And you know what the net effect was? Zero. I'm like, what did I do? What? And I was playing with this, I was playing with that. It was awesome. And I need to go to the corporate price list, and that's a big giant push up to change the price on something already on the price list. That's and this, and you have to go tell the regions who are marketing your products. The way we did market at HP, we had regional marketing centers, and then I worked with the regions. Oh, this is going to be great, and this is I do this, and I'm encouraging this behavior in the customer. It's going to be cool. Watch me. Nothing. Didn't move the needle one bit, not one bit.
Mhm.
Fortunately, before we found that out, I got promoted. I did worldwide customer support, so I was never actually held accountable. So I was like, that's even better. So this is awesome. So, but yeah, that was it was a big deal. Nothing, nothing,
Yeah.
no
So what did you,
impact. Way to go, Steve. That was just brilliant. So,
right. So what did you kind of take away from that experience?
you know, what I took away was you can do stuff, and you can think you're really smart, and you can use all this education and all this experience, and you can do all of this great stuff. But at the end of the day, the hard lesson I learned was the customer doesn't care. The customer doesn't care what you're doing. The customer cares about their own problems. It's all about meeting a customer need, and playing with all this and trying to manipulate things. It's a total failure. And I learned, you know what? At the end of the day, the customer's in charge. You're not.
Mm. Yeah, that's some great advice for sure. So now one of I want to come back to the just the general idea that you've been at HP for a long time and you've obviously kind of moved up the ladder there. What beyond just kind of experience, what are some kind of interpersonal traits that you've developed over time that you think have led to some of your successful relationships and successful promotions through HP and now enable you to be a good venture angel investor?
So I think what happens in a large company is you can get lost, and it's up to you to kind of carve out kind of what you're seen as, what you do, and what you're good at. You can call it your brand, you can call it your identity, whatever you want to do, right? As a person. But what I did, especially later in my career, um, I basically gained a reputation of, you know, if it's really screwed up and broken, we'll give it to Steve. He and his team will go out and fix it. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. It's like, oh, that's really broken. Thanks. I appreciate it, Val. We'll go fix it. But we always did. And that's a valuable skill. So my encouragement is figure out what you're good at first. All right. Figure out what you can do well, and then figure out how the organization can use that to its greatest impact. And my last job, I had all these people working for me all over the world, in like 6 or 8 countries. And we would get every crappy assignment to go fix that was out there in marketing. And that's what we did. And talk about job security, because something, even in a large corporation, something or some things are always broken. Always. That's called life. And if you're the one who can go out and fix it, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah, you got job security then, buddy. Let me tell you, because something's always a mess, right? So figure out what you're good at, what you like doing, which I think is really important and kind of not um, talked about enough. My father was actually in business. He was a sales guy, in a regional sales for Reynolds Metals. They did aluminum for Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, Lockheed. That's what he did. And he hated his job. He hated it. Every single day of his life, he hated it. And I looked at that and I said, well, I'm not going to go every day of my life to a job I hate. Do something fun. Work with some people that you can that you kind of like and you think are smart, and then figure out what your niche is and what you can really do well, and focus on that. And it will. I mean, remember, all companies are made up of people. The large ones just have more of them. That's the issue. They have more
right.
people. But at the end of the day, people are people. I have been literally all over the planet. India, China. I've been to Europe like 60 or 70 times. I forget how many. Asia, I've been there. I don't even know. I've lost count.
Wow.
And I've had people all over working for me. And the thing I learned is people are just people. They're all, I mean, yeah, there's different cultures, there's different languages, there's different blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it is amazing when you get into that and you see what really motivates them.
Yeah.
They're all the same. It's all the same. We're just people spinning
Right.
through space on a planet. I mean, and yeah, there's some differences, but not really. They're just
Yeah.
people. They deserve respect. They deserve dignity. They want to get a better job and help their families. Motivations are amazingly similar. All, no matter where you go, generally speaking. So that's one of my big learnings. And I tell people, do something you like, do something you're good at, carve out a niche that you can really sustain and you can really contribute, and you're going to be okay. And if you, at some point in time, want to do your own thing, you probably have a good basis to understand business, to understand what goes on, and then go do your own thing. But if you're going to do your own thing, that's fine. That's your choice. Just make sure it fixes a major customer need, and don't go after a hill that's already taken. Don't do that.
Yeah. Wow. This is some great advice. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna watch this back countless times, I'm sure. So we're almost out of time, so I just want to ask two more questions. The
Yeah.
first, I'll just lay them out, both of them. The first one is kind of, it's gonna be, what is something you want to tell me personally, maybe some kind of advice or just parting words, and then the second question is, what is something you want to tell the viewers?
So I think my parting to you personally is kind of along the lines of what I just said. Business is a great thing to be in. Make sure that you like what you're doing. Make sure that you're good at it, and make sure that you understand your place in the organization and how you contribute to the organization very clearly.
Mhm.
And I think if you do that, you're going to be in good shape, because most people don't do that. You just kind of show up and kind of flail. And the people I've seen who are most successful are the people like, oh, it's all broken. All right, that sucks. Give it to Greer. He'll fix it. We're done. Thanks. Hey, never got laid off in 38 years, um, because I liked what I did. I liked the people. I enjoyed high tech, but we really did cut out a niche for ourselves on my teams, the multiple teams that reported to me, in doing one thing really well that was acknowledged by my boss and his boss, who was the CMO. So anyway, and to an audience, I have to. Maybe you get to my age. Um, you look back and you go, you know what? Life is kind of short. It really kind of is. It's too short to go around being miserable. Do something that you really like, and do something that you enjoy doing. And yeah, it may not be as fun as a lot of other things in your off time, and that's up to you. But you got to work, you got to pay your bills, get married, have a family. Guess what happens then? Then you really got responsibilities. That's kind of what happened to me, you know, and figure out really what you want to do and then go do it. And if you can find something that is nice and good, great. If you can find something you really love to do, that's even better. That's really good. And that way you can get up in the morning and you can say, this is awesome. This is great. I don't know how I fell into this, but I love doing this. So find something that you like, and hopefully something you love, and go do that and do it well.
Awesome. Awesome. Very wise words. I really appreciate the insight, and I'm sure the audience will get a ton of value out of this as
Hope
well.
so.
So with that said, Mr. Greer, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to episode 4 of the Data Room. A lot of really great insights, great wisdom. I really appreciate your perspective, and thank you for taking a chance. I know for you, this is just sharing your time. So thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'm sure the viewers will appreciate it as well.
No
Yeah,
problem.
with that
Thanks a
said,
lot, Jacob. Good luck.
thank you.